and welcome back to my channel. My name is Miriam and I talk and teach about all kinds of quilting and sewing related stuff. So today we are going to make one of these. Now, what is this? This is a microwavable rice bag that you can use for, if you have sore shoulders, can warm up your shoulders, help your muscles relax. If you're having some bad abdominal pain, cramps, a little gas, whatever kind of pain you might be having, if your back is sore, this rice bag can be used to alleviate some of that pain. I love using heat therapy for sore muscles, and it just really helps. And this is a rice bag that can be used for that. So this has a removable cover that's attached with Velcro, and then the bag is what actually goes into the microwave. We don't put the cover in the microwave. So this is what we actually put in the microwave. I've got it filled with very yummy smelling jasmine rice. The tutorial is going to be all about how to make the rice bag itself and the really cute cover that goes on top of it. So I hope this is a helpful tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. Please give it a like if you like it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. We're going to be making all kinds of stuff this winter that's going to help with the cozy vibes and taking care of ourselves. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around and let's hop into that tutorial. All right, so before we start making anything, I'm going to go ahead and go through the supplies list here for you. I will also include the supplies list down in the description box below, so if you need to check that out, you can. For the cover of the rice bag, we're going to need, in total, we need 96 2.5-inch squares. So there'll be 48 for the front and 48 for the back. I am using 6 different fabrics. Here, I'll just lay them out here real quick so you can see them. 6 coordinating fabrics, and I cut 8 squares from each fabric for each side. So 16 squares from each fabric in total, and I just have them separated out for the front and back. So we've got those, really cute. I'm very excited to see how this is going to look when it's all done. So you'll need those. Then for the actual rice bag part, the part that's going to be going into the microwave, it's very important to choose fabric that is 100% cotton. You don't want anything synthetic since it's going in the microwave. You wouldn't want it to melt in some way. So I want to be very intentional with recommending please use 100% cotton fabric. I chose to use some muslin that I had. So I just cut a large 16.5 by 24.5 piece here, which I will use for the actual rice bag part. Then for the lining of the cover, I have 2 8.5 by 24.5 pieces. So that's for the lining of the cover. And then I also am using flannel for the batting part of our little quilted cover. The reason why I'm choosing to use flannel instead of actual batting is I don't want the cover to be so thick that, I'm not actually feeling the heat of the heating pad through the batting, because batting is very good at conserving heat. I might not feel it because it's just keeping it inside the bag. So I'm going to be using flannel. Flannel is it's really great for warmth, but it's much thinner than batting. So I just had some extra flannel laying around. It doesn't matter what you're using. Just if you're using any light fabrics for your cover, just be aware that it could, if your flannel fabric has any pattern, or if it's a darker color than your light colors, it might shine through. So that's just a little warning. But I cut these pieces. Let's see, what did I cut these at? This is a 9-inch by 25-inch, so it's a little bit bigger than what my cover is going to be, to make sure I have plenty of batting for the inside of the piece. So we need 2 of those. That's 9" by 25" for the batting part, which I'm using flannel for. So I'm just going to set those aside. I'm going to set everything for the cover aside. We're first going to make, oh, the most important part. You need some rice. So I am using jasmine rice. I love the smell of jasmine rice, and it's just going to give a really nice kind of therapeutic smell while I'm using it. It's also a really good type of rice to use because it holds heat very well. It's not going to get funky in the microwave. I think some people have used different kinds of beans, walnut shells, things like that. I would just be very careful about what you're using, because some things can tend to get funky, get a little moldy, go rancid after being heated. So I would definitely do my research before choosing something. I know jasmine rice works really well, so that's why I'm using that. I will link a blog post that I found that I wish I remember the name of the blog. I will link it down in the description box below, but she did an experiment with a whole bunch of different things that you could put inside a rice bag, and she kind of tests, longevity of the item, heat retention, and stuff like that. So I will include that in the description box below. That is very helpful also. We're going to take this to the sewing machine, and what I'm first going to do is I am going to stitch along this bottom edge and all the way up onto the top, and then a partial way on this second part, or on the top of the bag. Then we are going to start filling the bag. So I will show you how I'm doing that, but let me go ahead and stitch all the way up around, and we're going to leave an opening so we can actually pour the rice in. All right, I have the bag prepped. I also wanted to mention I used a 1/4" seam allowance all the way around the edge, and I shortened the stitch length to 2 instead of 3 is my normal. When I'm piecing a quilt block or something, I use a 3, but I switched it down to 2, just so the stitches are a little closer together, so rice isn't going to accidentally be falling out or anything like that. So now that I have this stitched, I stitched it all the way around, and here's what the opening looks like. I left about a 4.5" opening here. Perfect to be able to pour my rice in. So I'm actually going to make the rice bag into 3 different sections, and that's just going to help kind of distribute the rice evenly, so not all the rice falls down to one end or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of rice in, and then we're going to make a stitch line. So it's its own little pocket. Then we're going to put in some more rice and make another stitch line. So it's another pocket. So it'll be 3 pockets in here. First thing, I'm going to take my straight edge, and I am just going to measure 8 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to make a line with my marking pen. All the products that I use in this video, I will link in the description box below. So if you want a marking pen like this, it will be linked down below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. We got our lines marked like that. Perfect. Ready to fill her up with some rice. So the amount of rice that you use is really going to depend on kind of what you want. I'm not going to give a exact amount of, you must put 1 cup of rice in each pouch, but I'm just going to kind of see. I want mine to be able to lay pretty flat because I'll be using it on my shoulders and stuff, so I want it to be able to lay across my shoulders without, being clunky. All right, so I've got it filled up to about that line. It's laying flat, but there's quite a bit of rice in there. I would say, let's see, I would say I probably put about 2 cups in there, maybe 1.5 cups. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to shake it so all the rice is down at the bottom, And then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm just going to stitch along that first line that we marked. See, there I have my first little pocket with the rice in it. That feels great. All right, now I'm just going to repeat that process, filling up both the other pockets. Let's do a little fast forward action and I will meet you back. Here is our rice pack. That part is done. There are quite a bit of strings here on the muslin, so what you could do if you wanted is take a zigzag stitch and just kind of zigzag stitch all of the raw edges to kind of conceal them a little bit more. So yeah, that's something that you could do if you wanted, but my cover's probably always going to be on this thing, so except when it's in the microwave, so I'm fine with that. So I'm just going to fold that up. So nice that folds up, and now we can just store it somewhere. So that is done. Now we're going to make the cover. So the cover is very simple to make. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take 48 of my little squares and I'm just going to lay them out how I would like them to be placed for my cover. So this will depend on kind of how you want yours to look. But yeah, it's going to be 12 squares across and 4 squares down. So there we go. There's the layout. So I like it. I think it looks good. So now I'm just going to stack all the rows together so it's easy to sew everything together when I go to my sewing machine. If you would prefer to just use like a full piece of fabric instead of doing a patchwork design like this, say you have a yardage cut of fabric that you really like and it's a big beautiful print and you don't know how else to use it, you could definitely do that with this. You just need to cut that the same size that we cut the inside of the cover. So that's going to be 8.5 by 24.5 rectangles. So that is definitely an option for you. This is a really great way to use up scraps or, you know, leftover jelly rolls from another project. Since these are 2.5-inch squares, you just cut up the jelly roll into squares. So there I have everything stacked. Now I'm just gonna stack these kind of offset like that and take them to my sewing machine and sew them together. So I got all of my rows sewn together and they look so cute. I just love these fabrics together. They look so nice. I got these fabrics from Hobby Lobby. Very great deal, and they look beautiful, and they're perfect for a project like this. Before I sew my rows together, I am going to take them to my ironing board, and I am going to press rows 1 and 3 with all of the seams going to the right. I'm going to press rows 2 and 4 with their seams all going to the left. And what that's going to do is when I'm sewing them together, those seams at each intersection are going to nest perfectly, and then the quilt top just lays really nice and flat. It's a little extra step that makes a huge difference in how it looks, and it always looks like chef's kiss, beautiful with those intersections or those seams hitting right at the right spot. It just looks really, really nice. But before we do that, I just have to show you guys, you know, what I get to look at whenever I'm sewing. I just have to show you because she's just so cute. My dog, Obi, sleeps on my bed pretty much all the time when I'm sewing. By the way, yes, my sewing space, if you haven't noticed, my sewing space is in my bedroom in the corner of my room. I've got everything packed in here. You don't need a huge space to have a nice quilting studio. So there's my little girl. She's going to be camera shy now. She's also my security system. So she's always watching for those pesky pickup trucks that like to drive by the house. And she's sure to let me know that someone's out there. Also birds or squirrels, you know, pretty much anything that is in the yard she barks at. So anyways, I just had to show her because she's just so cute. She's just so precious. I'm going to press those seams. Remember, rows 1 and 3 to the right, rows 2 and 4 to the left. And I will meet you back here at the sewing machine. As you can see, I've got my seams pressed all to one side, and now we can sew them together. I've got my row 1 and then row 2, right sides together. I line up my edges, and then as you can see, that is called nesting the seams. See, those two seams are laying really nice and flat together, and then it'll stitch and it'll lay even flatter. And that is what we want. So here we go. I'm going to sew them together using that 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you're going, sometimes you can kind of feel the fabric, the seam try to flip the other way, and that's why you see me kind of picking this up and looking. I just want to make sure that the seam is still pointing in the correct direction. And see how those points match perfectly? That's what you want. So now I'm just going to add the other two rows, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, I got all the rows sewn together. So there's our cover. I'm going to take this to the ironing board and just press this nice and flat. And then I'm also going to repeat this process to make the back of the cover. And then we will go on to our next step after I do that. All right, now that we have our front and back of our cover done, how cute are these, by the way? I love simple patchwork, just using squares with coordinating fabrics. I just think it looks so nice and cozy, and oh, it just looks so nice. All right, so now that I have these done, now we are ready to quilt. I'm going to grab my flannel pieces that we have cut, and I am just going to lay this down and place one of my cover pieces on each piece of flannel, just like that. And then I think I will pin them in place just so they stay in place while I'm quilting. So I'm just going to be doing some very simple straight line quilting for this. I think it's going to look really nice, and it's going to give it a really nice texture. So I'm just going to throw a few pins in this just to hold it in place. Doesn't have to be a gazillion pins thrown in. I know some people like to put a lot of pins in their projects. I am not one of those people. I think three and it's good. So I'll set that aside, and then I'll get the other one ready here. There we go. All right, we have our pins in. Now I need to make my marks for my straight line quilting. If you've watched any of my other straight line quilting videos, you know I love my hero marker. Yes, this is an excellent tool to use for straight line quilting, because all you do is you press this little rounded edge on the fabric and it makes a nice little crease, and then you can follow that with your sewing foot and it looks beautiful every time. I'm just going to use my ruler, and I pretty much always use 45-degree lines. That's my go-to angle. So what I do is I look for the 45-degree line on my ruler, which is right here. I'm going to line that 45-degree line up with the edge of my quilt. And you can do this with whatever size quilt you are quilting. It doesn't have to be this small thing. It could be on a king size quilt. Use the exact same method. So you line up that 45-degree line with that bottom edge of the fabric. And I mean, you can start anywhere. I can move this across, but I'm just going to start over here on this side. I'm going to take my hair marker and I just run it alongside the ruler. And there I have a beautiful 45-degree line marked on the fabric. I'm going to have my lines be 2 inches apart. So I'm just going to line up a 2-inch line on the line that I just marked with the hero marker. And mark again. If for some reason the crease at the hero marker is just too difficult for you to see, or it's not working for you, you can use just like a Mark Be Gone pen and mark those lines. Just make sure if you are using a pen for your marking that you are using a pen with ink that is a disappearing ink or water soluble ink, so you are not left with pen marks all over your beautiful quilt top. That is not what you want. So I am just going to continue measuring 2 inches from these lines and creating my guidelines for my quilting. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the cover. So we're going to do all of the lines going one way, and then we'll come back and have lines going the other way, and then I'll be these beautiful crisscross straight lines that look really nice on quilts. As you can see, I've got my lines marked on here, and now I'm going to mark the other one, and then I'm going to take these over to the sewing machine and just sew along each one of those lines. Okay, we did the first lines of quilting on these. Looks pretty good. So you could stop here. That would be fine. You could just leave it like that. Or we can add our crisscross lines. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to flip this, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take that 45-degree angle on my ruler lined up with the top edge. So now I'm going to be having crisscross lines. And I'm just going to take my hero marker and draw the new line. And again, I'll have the lines spaced out by 2 inches. So here's what the quilting looks like. I wanted to do a nice close-up so you could see what it looks like. Looks so nice. Beautiful. Now, all we need to do is trim this down and create our pocket for our microwavable rice bag. Okay, now I am just going to trim these down. So they are 8.5 by 24.5. Oh, these are so cute. So now we just need to sew everything together to make our basically a pillowcase. First, what we need to do is create 2 separate pockets. So we're going to take our outside of the cover, we're going to place them right sides together, and we're going to sew them together on 3 sides. So both of the long sides and then one of the short ends. And this is going to be the opening where the rice bag goes in. So that needs to stay open for right now. And we're going to sew these 2 together. And then we are going to take our lining and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take them and put them right sides together like so. And we are going to sew these. We're going to sew a full length. And then we're going to sew the bottom. And then on this last side, we're going to sew part way up. Then we're going to leave an opening of about 4 or 5 inches. And then we're going to sew the rest of the way up on the other side. So don't forget to leave that opening if you need to. Make a little mark to remind yourself not to sew up the opening. And that's going to help us turn the piece right side out once we are done. But before we sew these together, before we sew the lining together, I want to place some Velcro in there. I totally forgot about that. I'm going to use Velcro for the opening just to hold it shut and secure when we're using the, if I can get this little loopy thing off here. When we're using the rice bag, I don't want the rice bag to accidentally fall out the pillowcase. So to have it be secure, I'm just going to place some Velcro in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these right sides together. And this is going to be the area where the opening is. So that's where we're going to lay the Velcro. So I'm just going to take a piece of Velcro, probably use a good sized piece of Velcro here. Let's see, how big is that? 7 inches. And I'm going to place it about an inch away from the edge, like that, just so it's not in the way when we go to sew everything together. We're just going to throw a couple pins in here to hold it in place, like that. And then I have the other piece, measure it so it's the, oops. Professional. All right, cut that. And then I'm going to have that be on this side, same distance down 1. Now, if you are going to use Velcro like this, do not put this cover in the microwave because the Velcro, one side is like plastic. So if you put that in the microwave, it's going to melt. And I don't know, it could be, I don't know if it's flammable. It could be dangerous. I wouldn't chance it. So if you're planning on using Velcro, then just know, like, you cannot put this cover in the microwave. Full disclaimer, right? So now I'm first going to sew the Velcro down so I can get those pins out of there. And there's our second piece of Velcro. Now we can put these right sides together. So don't forget, we are leaving, or that one side rather, we are going to give that an opening that we will use for turning the piece right sides out in the next step. All right, so there's that piece. There's our opening, and I'm going to set that aside. And then we're going to take these pieces, our outside pieces, and I'm going to sew this on all 3 sides with this one. Okay, now we've got a long sleeve thing going on here. Do not turn this right side out yet. What we want to do is we are going to take our lining piece and we're going to turn that right side out like so. And then we are going to put this inside of this piece. Keep the right sides in. So we're going to have right sides together. Might be a little tricky, but we can do it. Make sure that the lining, when you're putting it in there, it's not getting all twisted. Oh, that would be really annoying if you got this done and realized that it got twisted in there. I'm just kind of sticking the corners down in the corners of this. Just kind of working working it in there. Make sure that the Velcro is straight. What I mean by that is that the Velcro lines up with these flat sides and it's not, like I said before, like it's not twisted in there. All right, that feels pretty good. Now we're going to line up the edges of the lining and the edges of the outside of the pocket, just like that. Just like that. And now we're going to sew them together. So for that, I need to remove my table from my machine. It's kind of out of the way. I'm going to try not to hit my camera while I'm doing that. You know what? My free arm, this doesn't really have a free arm to it, but we're going to make it work. Just make sure when you're sewing, you're only sewing one side of the bag together. So make sure that you're not sewing the opening shut. Just make sure you have one layer of lining and one layer of outer cover while you're sewing them together. And again, we're just using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, as you can see, we stitched all the way around. Now we can turn it right side out. So to do that, we're going to reach into our bag and find that opening of the lining fabric that we made. And we're going to pull, well, let's pull that out first. So here's the lining. And here I'm starting to pull the lining out, the right side of the lining out of that opening. And I'm actually going to stick my hand in here and pull out the cover. You want to be gentle when you're doing this. You don't want to accidentally rip any stitches or anything. Ooh, it's starting to come together. All right, so now I'm just working on the corners of the bottom of the cover. So I just kind of pull them out as far as I can, and then I just kind of roll it between my fingers, and that seems to help get it rolled out right. And then it's a really nice curved corner. Pretty nice. So now I have it all out. Just gonna roll out the seam. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be so cute. All right, now we need to get that opening, and I'm just going to stitch that shut. So to do that, I am just going to turn in these raw edges and then just do a top stitch, which is basically just stitching about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric, and that'll hold that closed. So now that is closed, and now we can stuff the lining down into the pocket. It's like big sleeve. There we go. Then I'm gonna roll out that top seam just like that. Oh, this looks so good. There it is. Now it just needs our rice bag. So let's go over to the cutting mat so we can get that put in. Here we have our beautiful patchwork rice bag cover. This is so pretty. I love this, and it feels really nice. That the flannel as the batting actually worked really well for this. I really like that. So now I have our rice bag, and that's just gonna fit inside. So I am just going to open this up, stick one of the ends in. All right, the end is in. Now I'm just gonna let gravity help me get the rest of it in there. Just kind of shake it down, close the Velcro, and just kind of give it a little zhuzh. Oh my goodness. Oh, this turned out so cute. Check that out. That is so nice. It's got really good weight to it, and it looks cozy. It looks like a very plush little pillow. This is going to be so nice when my shoulders are tired from, free motion quilting all day. I just need to relax. This is the perfect size for that too. Yes, this looks so cool. Let's go try it out in the microwave and see how it works. So I'm in my kitchen. Here's the rice bag. There's the cover. And I wanted to mention a couple of things in my research in making a rice bag. Something that I found was if you're going to be heating your rice bag in your microwave, you need to have a mug of water in the microwave with the bag, and that's just going to help put a little moisture in the air. So then hopefully whatever filling you used, whether it's walnut shells or rice or beans, they're not going to just get scorched and icky. So I'm going to stick my mug in my microwave, and then my little rice bag is going to go in there. Gonna stick it in there. And then when you are heating it up, we are just going to do 30-second intervals. Don't do any more than that, because we're not sure how whatever rice or whatever you chose to fill it, we're not 100% sure how it's going to react to the heat yet. Once you kind of get a feel for how it works, then you can, just throw it in there for however long it works. But for right now, we're just doing 30-second intervals. All right, I feel a little warmth, but not much is going on. 30 more seconds. Also, after the water has been in there heating up for a long time, you want to be careful when you're moving the mug, obviously, because you don't want to burn yourself or get hurt by a hot mug. So please just be careful when you're using your microwave. Ooh, it's really starting to warm up now. I'm gonna do 30 more seconds. Okay. Ooh, that's nice and warm. All right. So we are gonna take that out, and I am going to stick it into the bag. I got the rice bag put into the little cover bag, and I'm going to try it out. I can already feel the heat coming out a little bit. It smells really good. So if you like white rice or jasmine rice, you'll like the smell of this filling for sure. So I can definitely feel the heat. It feels nice. It feels cozy. If anything, I would have made this maybe a little bit longer, but this is actually very nice. I can feel the warmth on my neck and on my shoulders. Yeah. Oh, that's actually, there we go. That's a perfect placement. This is very nice. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This was very fun to make. Yeah, I hope you are able to make one for yourself or for loved ones. These would make really good Christmas gifts, especially for the winter time. Oh, it feels very nice. So just thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye. One is the lowliest number that you'll ever do. Two is almost better as one. Trim, triminy, trim, triminy, trim, trim, chiroo. Do, 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 do. Oh, look, my bobbin ran out. Ah, it always happens.